Well, folks, this is Bob C-Gar coming to you from my studio in Springfield, Oregon, which is, yes, a lawn chair in front of my garage. However, this is the 4th of July We Love America edition, in which is included my American flag. Anyway, had a great week. Had 3 of my sons and their families. Just a great time. And now things are a little quieter, and thought I'd go ahead and put one in. Try to get caught up a little bit on the current events. Of course, I'm sure the big deal is going on right now. The big, beautiful bill. And I think they need to pass it. I certainly understand why there's a lot of people that are, I think there's like 20 Republicans that are kind of acting like they're not going to vote for it. They'll vote for it in the end, but I understand their frustrations. But the problem is that even though the Republicans have the House and the Senate, it's by slim margins. And usually you get some crossover votes. And in this climate, that's not going to happen. So I do think there's a lot of good things in the bill, and I think they need to go ahead and pass it. I think they need to continue to, maybe whittle down some of the smaller, pass this bill, and then start passing single item kind of bills, and maybe 2 or 3 items. And so then you can really hold the the representatives and the Senate responsible for how they vote, because if it's they can easily say, well, I voted no because of this and this in a huge bill, or I voted yes because this and this in a huge bill. But if they're smaller bills, then they're going to have to they'll be held accountable to a higher degree. That's my opinion. Also, with the 4th of July being in 2 days, Iran putting that fatwa out on Trump, which I guess is basically a hit for all radicalized Muslims to take their shot. So I think he's got to really be protected, and they have to really amp up the security around him, and I hope they do that. Anyway, I think the things that are in the bill that I like are, funding to keep the border closed, funding for ICE to continue, and I know there's, people are screaming about this alligator Alcatraz, and I think it's maybe there's a section of Republicans that are kind of thinking it's kind of cutesy and laughing about it, but the people they want to put there are the criminals, not just and people that they're going to detain until they can deport. And I think that's fine. You put them there. But I don't think they're going to escape anywhere. They're not escaping in town. They're not escaping anywhere. But so I think it's more of a little red meat for the bright red, but it's not going to. It's going to do its job. They're going to detain people, and then they're going to deport them. And I think it's really designed to be more of a deterrent, and to get more people to self-deport, because obviously that's the best way for it to happen. If they self-deport, they can come back in later, they can apply, and if they wait around and hide and whatever, and they get deported by ICE, then they can't come back. So I think that it's a good deterrent, and maybe it's going to make people, open their eyes and say, you know what, I need to take care of this. Whatever it is, wherever I am in the process, I need to take care of it. And hopefully that happens. And of course, people are like, well, who's going to do the jobs? Who's going to do all these jobs? First off, we have, I think it was 1.6 million illegals on Medicaid, and all they want to do is make people on Medicaid that are able-bodied, working age people to work 20 hours a week, and the Democrats are fighting this. It's insane. I think that Medicaid is supposed to be for people who are disabled, and you have all kinds of people who are not disabled that are draining those funds. So they do need to do something about that, and hopefully they will. Also want to talk a little bit about the feud between Elon and Trump. And, Trump said, yeah, we may have to look into Elon's, immigration status, like he's going to deport him, and Trump's not going to do that. So that's just trolling. That's what Trump does. He trolls, and he gets all the Democrats all up in arms. Oh, he said this, he said that. Look, watch what he does. It's what he does that matters. People who support Trump, and I'm one of them, the people I know, let's say that, the people I know who support Trump, they support his policies. They don't support all of his, I get a kick out of it. I do. I get a kick out of all of his trolling, but a lot of people don't. Most people don't. But it's his policies. It's the big picture stuff that we like. Yeah, we want the borders. We want people coming into our country that we know who they are and we invited them. Whether it's through a visa plan, whether it's, green cards, however, a work program or however. We want the people that we invite in to come. And we don't want people coming in through the back door. We want the doors locked. We want people safe. And that's in there. We want the tax cuts from 2016 to stay intact. We want them to continue, and they will with this new bill. So I think those are the two main things that I'm concerned about. I know that a lot of the stuff he's doing, as far as bringing in I think it's somewhere around 10 or 11 trillion dollars of new investment coming into America. That's going to do nothing but cause growth, which is going to do nothing but, bring in revenue, which is going to do nothing but lower the deficit. So, yeah, this bill it lowers the deficit, but not considerably. And I think that a lot of the hawks are complaining about that because they want the bill they sent to the Senate and the bill they got back to pass a little different. They're a little different, but they're not a lot different. And the reality is all of these senators and representatives, they all have a constituency that wants a handout, and they all want to protect that. And until we get a 70% majority in the House and the Senate, none of that stuff's going to change. And probably if we do get a 70%, which I don't think we ever would, but they would still fight about it, because they're all on the take. They all have their campaign funds, and they all have lobbyists. There you go. They all have lobbyists, hitting them up and supporting their campaigns and all this stuff. And so, yeah, they all owe somebody something. And so that's kind of crazy. Also, I wanted to take a minute to talk about the Diddy thing. and I have been saying for about a week now that, because I was watching kind of the summary of the day in the trials every day, and I couldn't see where they even came close to proving some kind of RICO thing, because you think of a RICO, it's illegally, a group of people, conspiring to make money illegally, and yet all you ever see is how much money that Diddy's freak offs cost. You don't see him making any money off of them. You see him spending money on them. So it never made a lot of sense, and I didn't think they really proved anything along those lines. And then when it comes down today to, they convicted him of transporting sex workers for prostitution. Well, I was surprised that they even convicted him on that. I mean, Hunter Biden's laptop that was full of that. That's exactly what he did. And then they didn't even charge him with it because it's consenting adults. It's nasty behavior. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying, I don't see where that's it's a crime on the books, but as far as they could be literally having a line around the block going into and getting convicted of that kind of stuff. The only reason people don't transport them is because they don't have the money to transport them, but otherwise they probably would. But what's the difference between that and OnlyFans, where I just think that it's disgusting, it's sick, but we live in America where we have the freedom to be who we want to be, and when you have consenting as adults and they have agreements, they're paying, it's sick, but I just don't see where you put people in jail for that unless you put everybody in jail for that, and they don't do that. So anyway, I think it was a big nothing burger. I think that I really thought he would get let out on bail today. I'm surprised that he didn't. So maybe the judge is gonna, give him jail time, but I don't know how much it'll be. And I still wonder from the very get-go, I felt like they put on a pretty shoddy case, and I'm wondering, was that just a show trial? Was that just because the supposedly 10,000 videos or whatever they had that they confiscated with the real crimes, underage girls and that kind of stuff? Is it because they were protecting all those high-profile people, and they didn't want to, all the blackmail to start? That's what I think. I think that that trial was either they put the wrong people on it. It was done kind of shoddy. They didn't have they overcharged for what the evidence was they were going to put on. And anytime you have a defense that says, no, we don't have any witnesses, they already think they won. So anyway, everybody take care. Have a good 4th of July. Have a barbecue, eat a steak, eat a burger, eat some red meat. This is America. Be proud that you live here. Be proud that you were born here. Be proud that this is your country. Be proud that you immigrated here legally. Be proud of America. And, we're going to have disagreements. We're going to have disagreements within our parties. We're going to have disagreements with the other party. But, this is America. Be free to be you. People don't have to agree with your opinion. You don't have to agree with theirs. That's what it's all about. And when it comes right down to it, there's nothing more important than family and, God, family, friends. And, man, I had a great week with my family, and I hope you're able to do the same over the 4th with yours. Take care. God bless America.